I got a message on my Instagram a few days ago, or a week ago, or well, a few days ago, to be honest. It can sometimes be 6 years ago when I tell a story. But a few days ago, I got a message from someone saying they were looking at getting a new camera, and they were thinking about switching from Canon to Sony, but they weren't sure about the color science. If you know me, you'll know I'm not into tech talk and specs and all that. I mean, look, I appreciate a good camera, but in the end, I'm more interested in what we can make with them. I've been using cameras for so long that I've just kind of learnt and developed and worked things out as I've gone, starting back in like 35mm film when there wasn't an option. Not because it was trendy, but just that's what I started shooting with. If you're in the camera sphere, you'll have heard the chat about Canon versus Sony color science, and there's plenty of videos that you can watch on the internet that will break it down in all the deets. This is not this. This is a layman's term, super basic look at, does color science really matter, given that most of us are gonna pop a donk on all our stuff anyway?
Pop a donk, a verb, to apply a LUT or preset to video or photographic work and classify it as color grading. We haven't got time. Just pop a donk on it and we'll be grand.
I said to myself, right, what I want to try and do is go out with two like very similar cameras and shoot similar shit on both cameras. So I have a Canon 650D. This is an old camera of mine that I used to shoot with. Battery grip on it, chicka 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 chicka. Second of all, Sony A6300, right? Both of these have a 50mm lens on them. The Sony one, in case you don't believe me. And there's the Canon one. In case you don't, but why I would lie about it, who knows. I'm also going to take out this 18 to, what is it, 7, very old EFS USM lens from like, fucking, what is it? It's buggered now. Doesn't really, it only lets me shoot in the widest aperture. I'm going to take that, which is an 18 to 105. Reason being, 18 to 105, 18 to 75, similar focal range. Oh shit, the bed! All the dust coming off the Canon gear. So it's going to be a DSLR and a mirrorless camera. I want to find out, does it really matter? If, you know, for most people, like most regular people who just want to take photographs and film some shit and move on with their life. So I thought that'll be a way to do something with some time. So I'm going to go now and footer about with these cameras. All right? Let's rock and roll. I'm currently standing in a den, shaded, not shaded, anti-rained. I am really self-conscious of people today for some reason. Like, trying to find a place to set up and do the intro, it's not the intro, took like 15 minutes to find a place, and then it started raining. I think I got used to filming and there was no one around, and now there's people around, it's super uncomfortable. I'm both gonna shoot raw stills. Full disclosure, this video has not gone to plan. Yesterday I got defeated by the rain, which is ironic given one of my past videos about the rain not defeating you. This is a new day. We're in a guitar shop in Bangor called Windmill Guitars. That's Simon, he's laughing because he's already heard me say this. Yeah, so I've got the two cameras with me. I'm working on a video for his shop, and I thought while I'm down here doing a couple of pickup shots, let's bring the two cameras and take a few photographs of the guitars. Because we've got natural light, we've got loads of colors, we've got some artificial light. So we'll shoot some pictures of some guitars, see how the two cameras fare up, and we'll get a shot of Simon's mug and try and get some skin tones. Because people love talking about skin tones. One's got back button focus, one doesn't. So I keep hitting the wrong focus button on it. And then one has a live viewfinder and the other one doesn't. All right, shots got at the guitar shop. This is like, I'm down at the coast. This is sort of similar to where we were yesterday when we were trying to get the shots. Oh, flip out screen. You forget about these. Yeah, honest to God, the rain yesterday was insane. If you follow me on Instagram, you'd have seen me cycling home drenched. But I want to take a couple of photographs and maybe film a few shots of this little like lifeguard hut. Okay, I mean, the topic of color science is gonna be controversial. There's gonna be a ton of people who know a shitload more about it than me, who are going to argue and go, color science is important, it makes a big difference and all that. This is not really for those people. I mean, okay, when I'm talking about color science, I'm not talking about like the science of color or the color spectrum or any of that stuff. What we're talking about is the common conversation about how different camera manufacturers, how their sensors built into their cameras interpret or display color, because they're all different. You ever look at Instagram or Visco and you see those like Kodak or Fuji filters you can drop onto your photos? That's kind of emulating what those cameras look like. One of the most popular consumer conversations is Sony and Canon. Most of us can get hold of Sonys and Canons, so we love this conversation about color science. And it's like, when I moved from film cameras to DSLR, I shot on Nikon for years, and then I moved to Canon. I shot on that for years, and then I've been on Sony for the last 5 years. Now, I remember when I put the Canon down and moved to the Sony, and saying to my brother, the image looks so weird. Out of camera, it looks so different. The only way I could explain it was very digitally sharp and colder. Over time, I've kind of grown to really love shooting on the Sony cameras. They're just different. There's loads of videos you can go look into the technical side, but for layman's terms, I've had people who are like shooting on like Canon 600Ds and they want to switch to Sonys, and they're saying, oh, the color science. And I'm going, does it really matter? Most people I know shoot a photograph, take it in Lightroom, and they're just like, crush that, boost that, change the color of that, into the HSL, change the whole color. So it doesn't really matter. Comes to video, most of us are dropping a LUT on top of everything anyway. So you're doing so much to change the color in post-production. Is it a conversation that most of us need to be having? Get this, right? For scary, look at how easy this lens comes off. What? Don't even have to push the button to release it. Just this combination. It fell off like a 9-foot wall. Let's just say I use my gear a lot. I don't like to worry too much about it, because if I worry too much about it, I find it stops me from trying things. It stops me from getting interesting shots. So just a tool to get shit shot. Get shit shot. Okay, everything's getting a little wet, so I want to get some shots on a day where it's maybe not raining, so I've got some that are bright. I've come down to the harbor where I live because the sun came out. Just for a little bit. Just enough time for me to work out. I needed to get down here, and then immediately it went away. We do some really nice soft light and loads of color, so I want to try out the two cameras. Okay, so we've got like low light stuff, we've got gray stuff. So I went out and I took a bunch of different photographs in some different settings. The weather was shit. Let's not talk about the weather. We're not going to compare the quality, although, to be fair, this Canon does still hold its own. Yeah, it was quite interesting actually. It was a real pain in the ass having to take the two cameras out and fidget and faff and work around stuff. So people who do tech stuff, who go out all the time and review products, props to those people, because I can't be asked doing that very often. But it was really good fun. I'll be honest, it was really nice shooting with a DSLR again. This is not a great DSLR, but there's something nice about an actual mechanics of the mirror system going and bouncing about. That was one of the things I hated when I did get my mirrorless camera, and it still bores me, but now as you go, and it's a very fake. I miss the sound and the feeling of the mirror system engaging. Also such a big camera. I mean, I've got a battery grip on it, so to make it look more pro, really. That's all. That's the only reason why, just to make it look like a 1DX. This here, yeah, it could be a 1DX. The point of the matter is, I went out, I shot these photographs. I went inside, I went to my friend's guitar shop, was outside in the rain at the beach, shot a bunch of different, shot some sunset, shot some sunset, shot some indoor, outdoor, some coastal stuff, some sunset stuff, a bunch of the sort of things I would shoot quite regularly. I brought them into the Mac and threw them into Lightroom. Now, to be honest, in camera I was seeing the difference. The Sony is exactly how I felt when I bought my Sony, the first one, which is this one. I was like, everything's blue and really sharp. What's this about? Everything felt really digital and cold. And that's what people talk about. They say that. Whereas the Canon is really warm and soft. I find when I'm shooting something, it looks more realistic on the Sony, but it looks the way I want it to look on the Canon. What I mean by that is I go, click, yeah, that's what that looks like. Or I go, click, yeah, that's what I want it to look like. I was smiling more taking photographs with the Canon, but the minute I put that into Lightroom, it was all irrelevant. I took it in and I made a couple of basic adjustments first. The sort of simple stuff I would just to correct it. Then what I did is I went in and I created a preset for the Canon, and I matched that preset
on the Sony. And I wasn't doing anything fancy here. I just created a look for the Canon shot, and then I matched the Sony. And then I created a Sony look for another photo, and I matched the Canon look. I didn't apply the same preset to both, because that same preset completely changes and alters all the colors differently, because each camera is producing a different image. A few tweaks and a few adjustments, and I'm able to create a preset for both, and the photos look pretty much identical. You're not gonna really, I don't think you're gonna notice. And it wasn't, the workflow was not that much. And when are you ever gonna have to do this though? That's the problem. If you're shooting on both cameras, if you're shooting a wedding and you've got a Sony and someone's had to lend you a second camera and you've got a Canon, that situation maybe. Assuming that you're in one location, if you're in multiple locations with both cameras, you'll have to do this a few times, but for each location, you just create a preset that you want, a look that you want for the main camera, and then you create another preset to match the other camera, and then you just fire that onto everything. Most people are not going to notice. Now, if you delve into it and you really look at it and you go, oh, yeah, and there will be people that will say that. They'll completely argue with what I'm saying here and go, oh, well, you can completely see it in the corner of that guy's eye, or you can see it in the blemishes in their cheeks. And I'm like, yeah, people are looking at it on their phone in broad daylight with their brightness maxed out, or at nighttime with the warm night feature on your phone, so everything looks orange anyway. There's so many variations in how people digest and consume our content. It all changes. The amount of times I've seen stuff and spent ages editing it and then looked at it on like another phone and gone, wow, that looks totally different on this phone. Okay, let's take a look at some of these photo examples and I'll show you what I mean. So the guitar in the hand, you can see immediately here. Canon shot looks oranger. There's more orange, there's more yellows. Where in the Sony, you're getting more blues and magentas. And personally, I prefer the Sony shot out of camera in this occasion. That's just looking at them side by side. I think if you see them on their own, most people will probably be more familiar with the Canon shot. But the minute we look at the post-production on that guitar shot, they're pretty similar. Canon's a bit darker. I was just really migrating. I was pretty rough with this, but you edit them in Lightroom, they look the same. They're not very different. Now this shot with the houses is, I feel like there's more greens. Like I'm seeing more greens and stuff coming through in the Canon shot. The Sony one's quite dark. There's not huge differences in there. I feel like the color representation in the Sony is more accurate here from what I saw in real life than the Canon. Again, we look at the edit on this, and I've created looks for these. I've gone in the sort of presets that I would normally create and use on my shots. So they're not all the same ones, but there's variations of looks that I would want to get from my images. I've crushed the dark and shadows and everything. And you can see here immediately, when we're still much softer sky in a Canon shot, but really, side by side, you don't notice. The beach one was really interesting. This is a hot, sunny day, super early in the morning. And the Sony shot, for me, again, is way more accurate. The Canon shot looks greener and more orange. The Sony is picking up what feels like more of a pink in the sand. But again, like that looks more color accurate. Edit them, and I know what I want from that. I want that to look, I want to throw contrast in there. I want to throw detail. I want the sand to look orange. I want it to look vibrant. You're not going to know which one was the Canon and which the Sony. This one was really interesting. This is the on-air red light. And the way the cameras are interpreting the color here was super interesting. Loads more blues in the Sony shot, but then also the reds in that light are really subdued. They look like a pastel, pinky kind of color. Whereas the reds in the Canon shot, so vibrant. But then you're getting this weird green in the background as well, which I don't really like that much. I actually feel like the Sony shot looks like it's been edited, but it hasn't. They're just different. I like how vibrant and rich the Canon shot is. I prefer the Sony. But again, we go to the edit. And once I'm in there and I'm tired of it, this was quite a tricky one to edit, I'll be honest. I tried to bring the vibrancy into the Sony shot, but then I lost it in the Canon shot, and it was a bit of tweaking. You could probably get these bang on. They're pretty close. Again, I don't think most people are going to notice the difference. Sunset. This was super interesting. Again, these cameras run the same settings. Look how nice the Canon shot looks out of camera there. Where's the sky in the Sony shot? It's not getting any of that. The Canon is picking up the gradients from greens down to yellows into gold and orange. The Sony's just giving me bang a white sky. And I'm like, where the hell's that? And I'm looking at that scenario, and
I'm seeing more what the Canon shot as color accurate there. It's still a little bit green and a little bit too greeny orange for my liking. I prefer the way the Sony is interpreting the colors, but I prefer the picture that the Canon's creating from that. Jump into the edit. I know what I want this to look like. I want this to be punchy. I want this to be bright. I want this to reflect what I actually saw in real life. I've maybe gone a little bit overboard with the edit on these because you've seen the pre's, all right? But the edit, they look pretty identical in the edits. You know, you're getting a softer sky, I think, and there's a little bit of haloing around some of the shapes in the Canon shot. So maybe I would need to tweak that edit, and maybe I've gone a bit dark on the highlights, but a camera literally sees what it sees and captures what it sees, and it's up to you to go and bring stuff back. So in the Sony shot, I had to bring the sky back. Your eyes are changing focal range, focal distance. Your aperture in your eyes are changing as your pupils adjust. So as you look and scan the area, you see a whole bunch of different stuff, and you don't realize, but you basically are like building the whole image. So that's why sometimes you'll see an amazing sunset, and you'll take a photograph of it, and when you show someone a picture, it looks like total shit in the photo. It's because eyes are more subjective. They take it all in, and you build up an idea, an opinion of what you saw based on all the information that you took in. Where your camera's objective. You take it up, you hit the settings, you hit fire, and it captures what it sees. It becomes subjective when you bring it into the editing suite, and you start to bring back details or crush some of the shadows or whatever you want to do on that. This is something that's really interested me about photography in the last sort of 5 to 10 years, is the amount of shooting I now do for post-production. Unless you're going to be shooting like a flat JPEG out of both cameras and you never want to edit them, you don't want to shoot raw, I don't really think it matters. So in conclusion, I stand by the fact that the color science conversation isn't really that relevant for most people. I'd be interested to hear what your thoughts are on it, so leave some comments below if you have opinions on it. If you're someone that knows a shit ton about color science and the details about it, it'd be cool to get your thoughts and opinions on this. And this isn't really an argument about whether it exists or anything. I get it, but I'm just more interested in the theory of does it matter? Does it matter to most of us? I'm someone that I'd say I'm a pretty experienced photographer, and I've shot on a load of different cameras, and I don't really think it matters. So there you go. This is just something that interested me, and I wanted to go and explore it and find out. So hopefully you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. If you did, drop a comment below. Subscribe to the channel if you aren't already. Do the bells if you want for notification. I mean, I don't really hit the bell on anyone's channel. The last thing I want is another notification from something. I have all my notifications, so don't hit the bell or notifications, but do come back and watch more videos and tell your friends to check out the channel. Okay, cool. Take it easy. Gonna put all this crap away now. Color science. Shot a bunch of different shots, some sunset, shot some sunsets. That's hard to say. Shot some sunsets. Shots. Let's try that without laughing. How am I gonna shot some sunsets? Some outdoor, some indoor, shot a few sunsets, shot some indoor, outdoor, a few sunsets, shot some sunsets, oh my goodness, shot some sunsets, shit, that's so hard to say.